Hey fellow Russians, welcome back to the channel. What we're doing today is I'm going to show you how I prep my cabinets for stencil installation. So this one's a Centaur. This, if you look at my previous repeat video of how to remove side rails, you see Centaur, and this is the one. So what we're doing is prepping it to install the side decals. Now, I want you to look at my other video on the paintless stripping of a cabinet. That's what I did to this. I used the acetone, I used the plastic, I used the paper, I stripped the original lacquer off of it, got it down to pretty well bare wood, and then what I did is I painted it with Kill's original interior primer, this stuff here. It's cheap, it's 20 bucks a can, make sure you shake it well, and I just rolled it on. And here's my roller. What I do with the rollers is I just put them in a plastic bag, so that way you don't have to clean them, and it keeps them good if you got to use it again. So what I did was I rolled it, let it dry, sanded it, rolled it again, let it dry, sanded it, wet sanded it, and that's where we are right now. So this thing looks pretty smooth, looks pretty good, but if you look, you can just pick up all these little dots in the paint. Okay, so what I'm going to show you how to do now is take it to the next level to make sure it's 100% smooth and ready for paint. So this is kind of the back. This is what we're doing. But what we're going to do is we're going to cover it with a coat of paint, another coat. This time it's going to be black. We're going to flood it. We're not going to go too crazy on making sure it's perfect. I'm just using the cheapest paint I could find. Black lacquer, and this was $3.73. Good luck finding anything that cheap. But we're gonna lay it down, we're gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna come back to sand it off and prep it. Okay, you're probably thinking that this looks pretty good. That, wow, this guy's really wasting a lot of time here. Well, I want to show you is here. So when it dries, it's going to dry all blotchy, but more importantly, you're going to see all these little divots, all these little craters. It's going to make it look like crap. Okay guys, we are dry. We're going to start wet sanding it to make this nice and smooth. So I think you can see what's going on. Notice how it's all blotchy. It looks like it's, I don't know, all wavy and stuff like that. Well, part of it is because I can't spray paint worth a crap, and I just splashed the paint on before just again to cover it. But it's also because it's very uneven, and there's a lot of like valleys and dips and stuff like that. But the biggest culprit that we're going after are all these little spots here, these little craters. Okay, it's definitely going to take away from the whole experience, that's for sure. Yeah, here's a good spot of what we're after. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna wet sand it nice and smooth, and then we're gonna end up against something like this. So this is all the high spots and the low spots. What we're gonna use is just plain water, soapy water. I've got it in one of these things, so I'm gonna just press the nozzle and it sprays out. And we're gonna use 220 Diablo sandpaper here. We're gonna use a sander too. Now the trick I do is I just make sure that the holes don't line up with the vacuum holes, and that way it won't suck the water up. Again, water and electricity don't mix, so you know I don't need the armchair critics telling me what I'm doing wrong. So do this you know, with your own at your own caution. So here you'll see that the holes are covered, vacuum holes. And let's go to town. Lowest speed possible, okay? guys, this is what we got going on. Kind of looks like a cow. Anyway, so listen, so we're still need to attack. Corners are usually pretty bad. And if you burn through when you sand, again, not a big deal because we got to give it another coat. So this is all got to get taken care of. So now is when you got to get really finicky and kind of go through the whole thing, see where you've missed, and concentrate some more time. But you can see all these little black marks are areas that were depressed, painted, and now we flushed. They're nice and flush now. Okay, so a couple of spots here and there. So we're just going to keep going with the sander until we're satisfied that everything is done. And at the end, we're going to go dry. We're going to go dry 220 just to give it some tooth for the layer of paint to stick to. I'm staying away from this part, kind of creeping up as close as I can to it. And let's face it, Centaur has a lot of graphics going on, which will hide some of the imperfections as well. Hide's not a good word. House mask. There we go. Sounds a little bit less mischievous, doesn't it? Okay, legs hiding this. I'm not too worried because I know it's going to happen. I'm going to burn through it, and who knows what's going to happen. So, and up here, guys, this is covered by the rail. Okay, so it can do whatever it wants over here. We will paint it, but we won't spend the time that I'm spending on the rest of it. I think we got it. And when it dries, believe it or not, it's like mirror. It's polished up pretty good. Okay guys, I'm going to continue on doing what we're doing. This is the back of the head. This is kind of, I think this is probably more what you're used to seeing when you see guys doing the block sanding. It's just kind of a very misty coat. And then as you start sanding, this starts happening. All the high spots and low spots start showing up. Again, this is the back, so I'm not going to spend, a horrendous amount of time on it, but I do want it to be more than presentable. And the same thing, I'm just wet sanding it. And I'll bring you back. So the back of the head, I ended up going with drywall compound after I was sanding. I sanded it, wet sanded it, and I started going through an excessive amount of sandpaper. So then I hit it dry sand. And the same thing, it wasn't clogging up the paper, but it was just going sheet after sheet after sheet. So I abandoned it and I thought, okay, let me hit it with drywall compound. So it is smooth to the touch, but I'm not expecting this thing to be, vinyl balloon smooth. I'm expecting some speckles in it, but we'll see how it turns out and how happy I am with it. This is the back of the head. I hate using that excuse. But what we're going to do is we're going to hit it with some Krylon rust protector. This is on wood. This is primer. Okay, this is high build, that red primer. So I'm going to hit it with this and we'll bring you back. So here's what we're looking at with the primer put on. I used some body filler here on some of the gouges, but it came out pretty smooth using a used 220. And we're going to sand it down and I'll bring you back. There it is, sanded. That's pretty smooth. Given the what we had going on before, it looked like the surface of the moon. It's smooth. And it's the back too. So when we hit it with the black, we'll make this thing shine like a new penny. This is the back of the head. This is the one that looked like the face of the moon. I think it came out pretty good. Couple of marks, like again, that's, well, maybe that's dust, but there's a couple, yeah, that's definitely dust. There's a couple of marks on it, but overall I am more than happy with the way this thing turned out. So we got some first world problems going on. We don't have any paint in a can that I can shoot through a gun. So I have to buy these $15 plus tax spray bomb rattle cans. They work pretty good, but I'm pretty happy with these results. Probably gonna go, and here's the one we're gonna talk on next. I'm probably gonna go with a vinyl decal on this one, just because black shows everything. It's unbelievable. It's like a black car, and this looks pretty smooth. It is, but up here is a bit rough, and I'm sure there's some other little uglies are gonna appear when I paint. Just for prep, I'll remember just to use a tack cloth, pick up all the little dusties and stuff like that, and we'll go from there. So I'm rather happy with the outcome here. This is a rattle can spray paint job, and what I'm really happy with is there's like very, very little evidence, I don't know if you can see, of any like scrapes, gouges, or anything like that on the cabinet after that, after the prep I did. This thing is like bone smooth. But unfortunately there's some uglies on the back, so we're going to redo the back again. Smooth. It's almost crazy to really. What we're doing with the cab, so the back got a couple of blemishes that I wasn't really crazy about. So this is drywall compound. Grinded it down with whatever it was, 80, 100 grit paper. Get it smooth. Put the drywall compound on it, nice and smooth. and I'll work this with just some regular sandpaper. And up here I ended up going with the technique I use with the resin. The dam, the tape, you can see just a little bit of remnant right there. The painter's tape I use. And I go through that in another video if you want to watch it. So, hey Russians, so we're gonna give it a quick coat of paint, of primer. This is the back, remember? And we use some drywall compound with fiberglass resin. Just sanding it all down. We're gonna stir it up and we're gonna make it happen. I shake a lot of cans. If you want to see how I made this, let me know in the comments. It's a great tool. I think we're done ready for paint on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, we are done. This came out really good. Combination of drywall compound, combination of red primer, red oxide primer. We threw the kitchen sink at this one and it came out really nice. I'm really happy with it. Oh, I used that magic black paint here. I'm telling you guys, way of the future. And the next thing I'm gonna do is paint the perch with that same magic paint. And then we will get on to detailing the head and doing everything that I do in my other videos. So anyway, if you want to see any more on this Centaur, just let me know. Shoot me an email, rushfan@live.ca, post it in the comments, and we will go from there. Take care, guys and girls. Rush Fan, over and out.